it gets through our process in PD and it comes to me and I look at it, if I'm jumping up and down, it's got a real good chance of making it through the system. Yeah, passion is like the main thing that has to happen in PD. It's like a couple of years ago I came down there, I saw a title, I looked at it, I said, this damn thing's a hit. And I went back home and I forced everyone to play it. I forced them to play it. No, we don't play that. Play it. You're not leaving people play it. And they all played it. They all fell in love, and the title was made.
What was that one thing? What was the most important thing about that particular time that you believe people come along with?
Well, it's just that it was like when I looked at it, it compelled me to play it. Puzzle. So when I looked at that game, it's kind of funny, and I hope you don't mind me talking about it, but I'm sitting, we go and see Steve, and I'm sitting there. He talks rather fast when he gets excited, and he's just going through this game a mile a minute, and I'm not getting a damn word he's saying, right? And I go, just stop and start over and pretend like I'm in kindergarten and take me through this so I get it. And he did that, and I said to Careen, I said, let's just buy this. I mean, this is a great idea. And took it home, made my guys play it, literally made them play it. And from that point, it was just like, they were so enthusiastic that marketing couldn't say no. And it just, boom, it went through the system.
And at that point, how developed it together? Was it the product polished product, or was it just...
No, I don't think so. It was a very healthy prototype at that time. Like, it was functioning, there was some smells. It was a healthy prototype.
But even from, that was a game that started smaller. There was a 360 PlayStation 3 product that we were going to pick up. And it came down to marketing in a room with the COO and Brian and me and sales, and she just looked at Brian and said, well, looked at everybody and said, Brian thinks this is going to be a good game. It's going to be great. Fine, let's do it. So it's really about, when it comes to original IP, so much depends on the product development team being able to champion your game through the company and providing them with the tools to make it easier for them to do that. So all those nice little things that marketing wants to hear, if they have all that information, it's much easier.
And it's funny because Konami is exactly the same way. If it's championed through PD and it's very strong, we feel very strong about it. Of course, it has to make fiscal, we have to be fiscally responsible. So, sometimes we're going to say, we want to do this, but we can't. There's no way this budget's going to work because we're only going to sell 250,000 units. But we look for things that we can move to other platforms and to grow it. So if you have a game that you think, this is going to work on Wii, I'll probably want to make it on DS. And then, like I said, do connectivity, game sharing, all the stuff that comes along with that, and maybe do a PlayStation 2 so that we can grow it. Because doing one-off games, it's kind of hard to make money doing that. So if you can look into the future, you can say, how does my title look in the next iteration of it? And maybe have an indication of that in your presentation so that it plants that seed. Oh, this is a series of games. This isn't just a one-game thing that I'm going to look at. That's pretty helpful in the way I need to present it to Careen and then present it to marketing, because it really comes down to me presenting it to them. And them saying, yeah, wow, that's really cool. And sometimes I'll just call it a development guy. So you must talk to this guy. And then I pull them all in there. So.
And it's also very important. I mean, even if your product is, a downloadable SKU versus a full 360 and PlayStation 3 title, you should view it as a new franchise. Because, what if it becomes the next Tetris, or what if it becomes the next? You need to think of it as, I believe in this enough to want to not only do this version of the game, but I also envision having it maybe a trilogy, maybe 3 different, where it's going to go next, just in case you're asked, where's it going to go next? How, what I would love to see is somebody who walks in and has something and maybe doesn't say, okay, this is how I'm going to make the action figures, and this is how I'm going to make, the t-shirts and et cetera, but to think in the way that it's truly a new franchise, because that's what we're looking for is, the next big thing.
So you see games that have good art look to it. For me, I look at it and go, geez, we could maybe do Pokemon. I mean, it has the flavor of it. If you made enough characters, enough enemy types, you might be able to go Pokemon. And what other platforms is this going to work on? When I'm looking at it, basically on a mobile phone, and I'm going, that's a lot of mobile phone. We can do it on these 4 platforms easily. It's downloadable, this, that. So that's kind of how we think. We try to think of a more broader picture rather than narrow it to just, okay, here's a title, here's a game. Let's just go with that.
So would you say that scalability and what you said, scalability and brand vision is just as important as the initial product?
I think so. From my point of view, it is, because I don't want to make one game. Especially if we're good partners and we can get along and we listen to each other and we can talk through some of the problems in the design or what I perceive as a problem or one of my guys, and you're open to that, why wouldn't I want to do another game with you? If you're getting what you need from us and you're giving us what we need to stay good partners. And I think the business is getting down to, do partnerships work or don't? Some do, some don't. When they don't work, you don't work with those people again. So I think, when I look at product, I think, okay, so how wide can I take this? And when I look at stuff, I get all these weird ideas and I just start like, because I love talking about the creation of all this stuff. And sometimes you start talking to guys and they just look at you and go, I ain't thinking that. Okay. And you don't want to work with me? Because I got 10 million ideas, not all good. And I don't mind someone looking at me going, that's really shit. I don't want to do that. Okay. So, but let's have an open discussion about how can we make this better. So that's kind of what I look for, as well as great product taken across a bunch of platforms.
It's very difficult to create something good in a vacuum, in a box. You do. I used the phrase in an article I wrote one time that I suspect that most developers think that the word publisher and expertise don't belong in the same sentence. And sometimes I agree with that. But you do come across with very, very creative and people that have worked in the industry for a very long time that want your product to succeed because that's their job. They need to build a franchise for their company. Yeah. And so their input is extremely valuable. And in the end, it's a collaboration. Nobody stands there and says, absolutely not, we cannot do this as a company I say no. It's really working together to determine what's best for the property and what's the best thing to make it really viable.
Yeah, I think that's what I look for the most. Can we be good partners? I think that's the most important.
Okay, so information considered. What do we consider when we look at a property or an opportunity? So our portfolio, the most successful brands have a finite lifespan unless you continue to keep reinventing it. Star Wars is a perfect example of something that was, continues to reinvent itself. And so we do continue to try to reinvent our own brands, but we do continue to look for new ones. And so that's something that's very, very important to us. The development team, your history, it is an incredibly small industry. So it's not just about your name ranking and whether or not it looks good. It's about taking a look at that project and saying, how much time did I have? What was the development budget? Were they picking up that title from somebody else and kind of saving it and kind of putting it together? Was it targeted to a preschooler? Was it targeted to a gamer? Really